as humans, we're kind of built to like achieving things. It's a big part of human nature. So when you've got smaller things and you can see yourself building up to that bigger goal, that's really, really rewarding.
Hello and welcome back to Money Illuminated, the podcast where we talk saving, investment, and making confident decisions with your money one step at a time. Today's episode, very useful one. With the new year now in full flow, we are talking about savings and looking at your budget and really working out good ways to help you save money in 2026. With me, as always, it's the financial guru, Mr. Jack Saunders. Welcome, Jack, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Ready for the year ahead. How about yourself?
Yeah, just about settled in. We're on, Friday? So Friday the 9th, that is. So we've had a week of being back in full flow, and as depressing as it is to always come back to work, I think we're just about back used to it now. So that's good.
It certainly has been a long week, but a good week, I think. I always feel quite motivated by the new year. So any New Year's resolutions that you want to announce?
No, nothing specific. Definitely try and save a bit more money this year after a few holidays last year. And you and I both actually getting engaged as well at the back end of the year. Not together, but with our own partners. That caused a bit of a financial hit for both of us, I imagine. So building that up and just try and work on fitness a bit more and try and hit a 60 average in darts. I'd love to do that. But
okay, some good goals there.
Yeah.
So I must admit the finances are a little rough to start the year with, but a very successful year for both of us. So.
Yes, exactly. Well, they both said yes, right? So that's all you can ask for. But what about yourself? You got any resolutions?
Well, over the Christmas period, I hit a hole in one. So my kind of life goal of in golf has been achieved. One of the best days of my life. I can't say the best day of my life because obviously the engagement was that.
Obviously.
So I think fitness, savings, the kind of normal goals really ahead of this year. Probably get into darts a bit more as well. So fallen in love with the game over the last couple of years. So, and I know you certainly have.
Hey, well, it's been around me, right? And you've hit 2 180s in front of me. And now a hole in one. So you know what's next, don't you? You got to try and go for that 147 at some point in snooker.
Yeah, always said that's the hardest one. I just don't think I've got it in me to do that one. So, but who knows? Brilliant. Well, thank you for everyone joining today. Today's episode, we are looking at kind of budgeting, saving. We know January is a very difficult month. It's a kind of month where people are looking to lose a couple of pounds, but also save a couple of pounds. So really, I think that what we're going to try and do in today's podcast is give you some ideas as to what are good tools to use, what are good things to look at. January is just a really good time to kind of reset that mentality and get into some really healthy habits. So anything from your side on top of that, Jack?
No, I think, like you say, I'm going through January and thinking, right, well, I need to become healthier and fitter. And I think a lot of people go through that and they do the same with their finances. And I would argue finances is probably easier to stick to if you have a good plan in place than looking after yourself in terms of health and fitness. And it can be really rewarding, like the compounding effect of the decisions you make can be very, very rewarding very quickly. So, I think laying some foundations in January is always a really good idea. And we've got a couple of different thoughts and ideas to give people today that hopefully they'll find useful.
Absolutely. Very well put. So I think to start us off then, we can both agree, I do this every January, doing a comprehensive budget plan I think is the best way to start this. Set yourself an hour of spare time where you can use tools. So there's the budget planner tool with Money Saving Expert, which is a Martin Lewis website. There's lots of other tools out there as well that are very similar. What they basically do is get you typing out where all your money's going. And how are you meant to save money if you don't know where it's all going? So that's the first step. So I did it this week, found out all my money is going towards memberships and subscriptions, Netflix, Amazon, golf membership, gym. There's just too many to count. And you have to take a step back and think, do I need all of these things? So I think when it comes to saving money, when it comes to getting those healthy habits, the budget planner is going to be step one no matter what.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a sometimes I think it's always insightful, sometimes very depressing thing to go through. And it's a good thing if you've got a partner, husband, wife, and so on. It's good to go through it together as well, so that you've got that clear picture of where's your money going, and seeing that a lot of it goes on alcohol or days out, or is your mortgage up for renewal, and can you look at alternative deals for those kind of things? It's amazing what you can find, and the subscriptions. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Because you think about, well, when we were leaving school 10, 15 years ago, you just didn't have as many subscriptions back then, and let alone people that were born before us. And the fact that 40, 50 years ago, I mean, you didn't have your Netflix and your Amazon Primes and your Disneys and things, and something I'm terrible at doing. But if me and my partner Zoe are now watching things on Netflix, and we're going through Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, we're going through at the moment, we're only really going to be using Netflix for the next 3, 4 months. So we probably shouldn't be paying for Disney Plus and Amazon Prime and all that sort of stuff. It's difficult to keep on top of it, but it is another 15, 20, £25 a month that's disappearing into thin air if you're not really using it. So yeah, the budget tools can even help with things like that. And again, it may only be 5, 10, £15 a month, but it can make a big difference if it's compounded up. And sometimes it can be hundreds. It just all depends on what's hidden in the bank account.
Definitely. And I think you can really go into so much detail with this, and you can realize that you're maybe not even spending money on things that you want to spend money on. Maybe you enjoy days out. Maybe you want to drink less beers. Perhaps it's the opposite way around, but it's a case of you can do that as almost step one, but you can go a step further and say, oh, well, I've got my MOT due in July. I've got my dad's birthday in September. I've got a holiday booked in October, and plan around that in advance. If you wait until the month before, suddenly it's going to catch you out, and it's going to throw that planning completely off grid.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think another thing that's really important to look at is the fact that we work with all sorts of different people. We work with super, super rich and very fortunate and wealthy people, whereby £25 a month going on 3 subscriptions that they don't use, it doesn't impact them. They don't notice it. And then we work with people on the complete other end of the spectrum where they can't afford that £15 a month subscription. And it amazes me that you'll get people in both of those categories and everywhere in between that don't budget. Or some people just have to budget to the literal penny. And they're probably going to be in that category where they find finances really difficult, and they don't have enough income, and outgoings are too high, and so on. But you do then get people that are on the other end of that spectrum, where they've just got more than they'll ever need, which is a wonderful position to be in. It doesn't mean you should just ignore the finances. Don't just let it go to waste. It's really important to have a budget, and often we hear it all the time, particularly when we onboard new clients. They go through a process of looking at this sort of stuff for us, so we can see what their future spending is likely to be. And the feedback we get is nearly always, that was actually really interesting to go through. So I jokingly say, look, it's going to be quite boring. It's going to be 15, 20 minutes of you doing something, but just get through it. Do it with a glass of wine or a coffee, whatever your preference is. The reality is they go through it and they say, actually, it's really useful because you do see things that you don't notice when life's busy. It doesn't matter how comfortable or uncomfortable you are financially and how rich you may be, actually doing this can be really useful for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, very well put. And the amount of times that we've probably spoken to someone that's maybe earning 6 figures and they're saying, oh, I can't save any money.
Yeah.
And we're wondering how. But it's because they haven't kind of taken a step back and said, where is all that money actually going?
Yeah, exactly. It's you got to remove that kind of judgmental side of your person, haven't you, when you're sitting down with these people? Because I've spoken to people that are on 100, 200, 300,000 pounds a year, and they're incredibly fortunate, and they recognise that, and it's often down to how hard they work and so on. So we don't want to take anything away from them, but it is amazing how difficult some of those people can find it to manage their own money, and things as simple as budgeting. It can be difficult. So yeah, really, really important step.
Absolutely. And then moving on from that, I think there's several other really good habits you can get into. But I think something really important, a lot of people that are listening probably already have this in the background, but if you haven't, building up the lifeboat fund is what we call, or the almost emergency pot. So Jack, would you mind explaining that in a bit more detail for the listeners?
Yeah, we used the phrase emergency pot or lifeboat fund, and a lifeboat fund is probably more geared to those in retirement or the phase of life where they're spending from their assets rather than producing an income from work. But the kind of whilst you're working, whilst you're in that building assets phase of your life, an emergency fund should probably be 3 to 6 months worth of, net income or expenses, whichever way around you want to look at it. Again, net income hopefully is going to be more than what your outgoings are. But it's just that financial seatbelt. It's just when things go wrong, or if things go wrong and the boiler cuts down and you need to replace it, or if you decide that you don't want to work in the same field anymore and you want to take a career gap or move to a different role and so on. All of these things that come up that you need financial kind of comfort with. That's what your emergency fund is for, really. So 3 to 6 months of expenses is what we suggest. If you're comfortable making it 3 to 6 months worth of your net income, if that's enough, then great. But yeah, it's a really, really important step just to have that peace of mind. And for some people, they're going to find it difficult to build that up. That's true. If you've got high outgoings relative to what your income is, it can be difficult to build that up. But it's probably still the first thing I would focus on creating and accumulating, even if it takes you, a year, 2 years to get there. Once you've got to that point, you've then got that comfort blanket over you, and you just want to make sure that that money is doing as much as it possibly can. We don't want to be investing it because that comes with risk. We don't want to be putting it into products that are really, really illiquid. You can't really access them. So you want them in easy access savings accounts, maybe cash ISAs, premium bonds. Those are the types of solutions that are worth thinking about for this particular pot of money that you should have.
Definitely, definitely. And it can be as little as, £10 a month, £20 a month that you start with. It's all about starting and just getting the plan almost automated, I think is the right thing. And we both use these almost smart banks now, your Monzos, your Revolut, your Starling, where they essentially you get paid, you have 10 different pots within your bank, and as soon as you get paid, they automatically go into those pots. And it's that your money's almost working for you in the background without you having to do anything. And you're almost putting it in the right pot, where that could be for savings, that could be for your mortgage, that could be for food. It's basically putting all your money so you know exactly where it is, and it's going to be doing the job that you need it to do to kind of meet your planning needs. So I don't know what you use, Jack, but for myself, I use Monzo. Just find it so much easier to almost manage my money as soon as I get paid using something like that.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. And I haven't used, well, I have used Monzo. I don't use it anymore. I use Revolut now. But yeah, there's lots of different accounts out there that can do this. And you're right, it's that automation. It's creating discipline, I think, automating your savings, regardless of what the number is. Forget that, because it's not important. It's the behavior behind having money going into a separate account, whether that's a savings account, whether it's a pot for Christmas 2026. I think that's a really good idea at this time of year. We all know how painful and financially destructive Christmas can be. It's not a cheap time of year. So setting up a pot where 30, £40 a month is going in until November, you've then built something there, and having that automated so you don't have to think about it is a really, really good way to just stay disciplined. And it's incredibly similar to the fitness world, right? Discipline is probably more important than motivation, because motivation will lack at times. We know that. And it's the same thing with finance as it is with fitness. So just try and stay disciplined. And the easiest way to do that is to not have to think about doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see this with, I guess pensions are a really good example, where with salary sacrifice, essentially you're never seeing that money. That money is going directly into your pension and it's saving for your long term. you could do this in a very similar way. You can get £50 going into cash ISA or your premium bonds almost automatically. So you never see that money. Because if I end up with £50 left over at the end of the month, I'm not putting it towards savings. I'm going to go and spend it on who knows what. So, I'm probably going to waste it, to be honest. I'm probably going to spend it on coffees, beers, going to the pub, whatever it might look like. That £50 is not going towards my goals at the end.
Yeah, you can really tell that you and I like going to the pub, can't you? I think we mention it in every episode. But you're right. It's very difficult to keep yourself disciplined, and there'll be a month where you think, actually, I am going to save that £50. But a lot of the time it just gets wrapped up in life. So yeah, automating savings and investments when it comes to pensions and things like that, really, really important step. And now's a good time of year to look at it.
It certainly is. And I think that brings us really nicely on to kind of one of our other tips, which is, I guess these go hand in hand. It's the fact that you'll have lots of different accounts nowadays. So you might have 3 or 4 different banks. You might have 3 or 4 different loans. You might have an overdraft here, savings accounts here. It's a very complicated picture. It's not as simple as having one bank account and one solution. So you can also use these kind of budgeting apps where you can almost bring everything onto one platform to keep on top of things. I think they can be really useful. Do you have any kind of good tips or ideas around the budgeting apps, Jack?
Yeah, again, there's so many of them out there, and you can create a one-off sort of budget snapshot, or you can have these apps which just feed into your bank accounts and they tell you where your money's going. Emma is probably the best one I've used personally. You've got a free version of Emma, and then you've got a paid for version. I can't remember exactly how much it is, but I think it might be £2 or £3 a month, something along those lines. And who knows, maybe there'll be a deal in the new year if people are interested. But yeah, it just helps almost turn the lights on in a messy room, I think. It's saying, well, all of these different things, it's difficult to keep on top of them, difficult to see what's going on in all these different accounts. It's just having one dashboard, one app, which tells you the big picture, the summary of all of it. That can be really, really useful.
Turn the lights on in a messy room's a great analogy there. Really enjoy that.
There we go. It's not my own. It's not original. I've heard it before.
Okay, fine. You should have kept that part silent, I think. Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not aware of too many other ones, but I know there's a lot out there. Again, M is the one I've used before. So very, very useful there. And then this is one that we talked about before the podcast today, being very, very important, setting SMART goals. So this is to really help keep you on track. And it's very similar with fitness. If you've got small aims to get to a larger aim, you're much more likely to kind of stick to the plan. And SMART essentially stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So time specific. They are really, really useful to bring into the planning. Is there any kind of good examples or breaking it down in a bit more detail, Jack, that you think would be useful for the listeners?
Yeah, you can apply this to everything. And when we work with clients and families around their longer term retirement goals and so on, we use this exact model to say, well, what do you want to achieve? When do you want to achieve it by? Oh, I want to retire by 60. I want my life to look like X when I get to that point. So we then know, when's it going to happen? How long have we got? Exactly what do they want their life to look like? Figure out, is it achievable and is it realistic? And by doing that, you can then create a plan to get you there. Same thing applies to shorter term goals. If we're talking about Christmas 2026, well, we know when it is. Firstly, it's November, December time. We need to look at what did we spend last year, and therefore what are we likely to spend this year? Put a number on it, put something specific towards it. Measure whether it's achievable to get there. Can we afford to save 40, 50, 60 pounds a month, whatever it is, to get to that goal? And we're human, right? As humans, we're kind of built to like achieving things. It's a big part of human nature. So when you've got smaller things and you can see yourself building up to that bigger goal, that's really, really rewarding. And I think that's where, compare it to the fitness industry or fitness world, looking after yourself. If you want a six-pack and you've got a high percentage of body fat, you're not going to see that six-pack really, really quickly, which is why a lot of people will lose the discipline because the motivation isn't there. Whereas with something like finances, well, you can physically see the numbers in your bank account, your ISA, whatever it is you're putting that money into. You can see that increasing on a really, really consistent basis. So it's kind of easier to stick to it, particularly if you do the whole automation and everything.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really, really useful tool to have in your arsenal. So, perfect. I guess moving on, last key one. Well, I guess it's bringing all of this together. It's reviewing your subscriptions, your spending, finding out how to get some quick wins, and also then comparing that to those smart targets, those slightly larger, more achievable goals over the long term. So your quick wins could be you're going to cancel Netflix for the next 3 months because there's nothing on there that you see yourself watching. So you're just throwing that money away. Another really useful one would be if you and your partner listen to Spotify, you can get a dual account now, where basically it costs the same money as having one account, but you're taking away £12.99 a month. So there's little wins through doing that budget tool that you'll pick up and say, oh, do I need to get that coffee every Monday? Perhaps not Monday, actually. It's probably when you do want to get the coffee, but there'll be one later on down the week or something along those lines where you can just get a few quick wins and feel just quite motivated by the process.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And for those that don't necessarily focus so much on the subscriptions and things, it's also looking at things like, well, if you've got life insurance, if you've had that for 10 years, is it worth reviewing it? Is it worth having a look at actually, does it serve its purpose? Are you spending too much? Do you need a different policy now, which is cheaper? Sometimes more expensive, but it's those things that can just highlight where's your money going, and actually are all of these different pieces of the puzzle, are they actually aligning, excuse me, to what you want your life to look like? Are they a really vital part of what life is for you? And like you say, if you take your Disney's, your Apple subscriptions and so on and so forth, there'll be times where they're relevant and there'll be times where they're not. You've got longer term things like your investments, your pension contributions, your life assurances, etc., etc. Home insurance is another good one. Pet insurance. People often don't look at those things. Actually, if you've got a budget tool and you're aware of how much is going on it, and you can see it by clicking into an app, and it's all there for you. You don't have to trail through everything and find the details. It can be a really, really useful way to just kick your backside into gear, to be honest. I think that's an appropriate way to put it.
That's probably the way to sum it up, actually, isn't it? It's just getting on top of things that you always seem to put off. So, brilliant. Perfect. Well, I think we can wrap that up there. Is there anything else that you want to add for now, Jack?
No, just, as always, if anybody needs any help with this sort of stuff or even just wants to have a very quick chat, we're always very happy to help. So do reach out if you'd like to. But yeah, I wish everybody a happy new year and thank you for listening.
Perfect. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. So start with that budget, please, if you have listened to this. But thank you for tuning in to Money Illuminated. Subscribe, give us some comments, like this episode, and we'll look forward to speaking to you next time.